great to be here, to have the opportunity to talk to you all. So thanks so much for coming. I'm literally just going to jump straight into it. So my journey into marine science actually starts my undergrad, where I did English language and linguistics. It was my favourite course at A-level, a wonderful teacher, and obviously was the most straightforward route into marine science, if only. But really, I actually wanted to go into speech and language therapy, and I really wanted to help children develop their language. But I had a really rough time at uni, didn't love the course. I really didn't like the uni. I saw all of my friends just having the best time, and I just didn't enjoy any aspect of mine. But this kind of led me into marine science. So I haven't been in marine science for very long. The easiest way for me to kind of break it down is literally to just do it by each year that I was in uni. So start off with my first year where, like I said, didn't have a great time, didn't love it, but at this point didn't hate it either, which I guess is the thing. One of my friends who I lived with in first year, he actually found a volunteer opportunity to be working with sea turtles in Catalonia. So gave it a go, applied, and I loved it. It was hard work. It involved a lot of cycling, which isn't my favorite thing. But it was great. I did a lot of beach surveys, like pollution surveys. I did morning nest hunting. I did night shift. And this was a really important trip for me, like pretty formative. But at this time, I'd never really considered this as a serious career for myself. I was doing linguistics, so I had no scientific background at all, and just felt pretty tied to my degree. So it takes me to my second year, where I still really wanted to use my degree for something, especially if I was having to pay this amount of money. So my next on my list was teaching. I gave teaching a go by volunteering in this really, really lovely primary school in York as part of the York Students in Schools programme. So I went into the same class every week for a day, and I loved it so much so that actually I extended what should have been 2 months to my entire academic year. And I had a blast, but boy, did I realise teaching is hard. And I think I loved it, but I was able to leave and go home, and I didn't have to mark, didn't have to plan, and didn't have to worry about any of that. So it was great. I had so much fun, and I won a volunteering award as well. So it was a really, really great experience. And in the same year, I also did teaching English as a foreign language module as part of my degree. So I thought maybe at this point I could teach if it was somewhere really, really beautiful. So gave it a go. Worked really, really hard in my part-time to save money and to try TEFL in the Maldives, which obviously was amazing. I had a blast talking to the students. I loved working with them on their English, but still just wasn't enough. But this trip was really good. Like, it allowed me to try a bit of coral restoration. We planted those in mangroves. So it definitely got me really curious about conservation. So my final year, I just gave up trying to use my degree for something, especially for a career. I always look back at my time during my undergrad because it was really miserable and it was a really tough time. And still to this day, I question, was it really worth it? Like, I'm not sure, especially because I was so unhappy. But I enjoyed my final year, and this was probably because I stopped caring about it as much, which is terrible. So anyway, I applied to work with the Society for Protection of Sea Turtles. This was in Northern Cyprus, and it was for 8 weeks, sorry, not 8 months. I spent a lot of time excavating turtle nests. I did night shifts. I traveled to loads of different bases. So I had a really, really cool and like well-rounded experience. But my favorite experience of all of them was doing hosting hatchling releases, where tourists would come to the base. They would watch an information video. I would do a health and safety talk. I would demonstrate like how to hold a hatchling, just tell them about the evening and like how it will go. And then once it was fully dark, we'd walk down to the beach, and it was just so beautiful. It'd be stars are everywhere. I'd have all the tourists like lined up. I would draw a line in the sand, and I would hand each tourist each vessel to release, and at the same time they would all release a hatchling, and it was just amazing. It was just incredible, and seeing so many people excited by things that really excite me was just special. And you know, you'd see the stars and the Milky Way, and the moon was so bright, and it was just beautiful. And it made me think like I finally found something that I actually want to do that is enough for me, which was great. And Actually, weirdly, I got home and I was working full-time in a local supermarket, and I had this couple come up to me and they were saying how I actually hosted the hatchling release, and ever since speaking to me they had like reduced their plastic consumption and they were way more interested in conservation, and that was really, really cool. So it was like nice confirmation for me that actually I'm really good with people and I can do this sort of stuff and I can actually make a bit of a difference even if it is really small. So anyway, I had plans to travel the world, so did that. This was supposed to be for a couple of years. I traveled through Southeast Asia and Australia and just had the time of my life. I learned to dive. I met some really incredible and beautiful people. I saw so much beauty, so many amazing animals everywhere, like manta rays and turtles and dolphins and whales, and it was really wonderful. And I was supposed to work there, but had a tricky time trying to find a job. So I decided to come home after 5 months. And I managed to get a full-time job at a renewable energy company called Enesco, where I worked doing admin. And this provided me with really important skills. It exposed me to office life and that 9 to 5 life, which I just hadn't really known before. But we then obviously went into lockdown. So like everyone, I had to work from home. Didn't really leave the house or see anyone or do anything, and it was really tricky. I had a really tough time, like so many other people did in the first lockdown, but that led me to looking at masters. So I saw that Exeter had courses where they would take people on as long as they had relevant experience. So it was a really spontaneous idea, but I ended up applying end of July to start a master's in marine environmental management that September. And I got accepted, which is still a bit of a shock to me now, but it's just been such a whirlwind ever since that, really. And let's not forget, I had a really tough time in my undergrad. Like I cried literally every day. I was really, really sad. So the thought of going back to uni was really terrifying. I was so scared that like I wouldn't like the course, or I wouldn't make any friends, or I wouldn't like Cornwall, which I've since realised is just impossible because it's so beautiful down here. But despite COVID and having everything being taught online, it's just been really fulfilling and like the most wonderful experience to do something I love and actually be quite good at it as well. So I'm currently preparing everything for my research project, which will be raising awareness on the threats that sea turtles face using immersive education and virtual reality in primary schools. And weirdly, I'm actually looking at language and linguistics again for an essay that I'm currently writing. So it's kind of come full circle here. I guess the linguistics degree was a little bit relevant at the end anyway. But yeah, that was it. It was just a whistle-stop tour for how I got here. It wasn't the easiest or most straightforward, but it kind of exposed me to everything and gave me a lot of insight. So got me here in the end. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you so much. That was a really like a whirlwind journey, and impressed. 7 minutes 38 seconds, like spot on.
Nice.
Yeah, and great to hear really how like I said, it's not a straight path, and there's so many times that we struggle. And it's just great to see that how it all worked out for you in the end, and maybe even the linguistics will pay off after.
Yeah, I know, maybe, hopefully.
Who knows? Yeah, weird things happen sometimes.